right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Muhammad Anis, and I am a producer as well as a video editor. Um, just a quick intro while everyone gets situated. I'm a person who has worked both in the digital marketing field as well as in broadcast, and I still continue to do so in my 9 to 5. Now, there has been a lot of content that has been circulating with the release of the new Vegas product line regarding not just Vegas Pro, but the components that come with Vegas Pro, such as Vegas Effects and Vegas Image. And one of the things that do bother me is sometimes the brand loyalty gets in the way of being able to deliver information to people that will allow them to have or to form an objective um, opinion about the product. So, without mentioning any names, I heard things like Vegas Image being more powerful than Photoshop. That is not, that could be further from the truth. It is certainly a powerful software, but if we're going to be making comparisons, then maybe we could say that it's Lightroom with compositing steroids. But it is still far from being ready to be compared to Photoshop's. In fact, I don't think it was even designed to compete with Photoshop. Although there are a lot of elements in it that do give Photoshop a run for its money. So, just a very quick note, Vegas Image is a GPU intensive software. You are going to need a very powerful GPU, or at least something that comes along with 4 GB of RAM. The minimum specs is usually 2 GB, but it's been my experience that 4 GB of RAM is a must. I have a 1080 Ti, so I'm covered. So let's go ahead and begin. The first I'm going to start with, just going over my notes here, is the basics. What is Vegas Image? And over here, this is what you start with is a pretty plain background. Now I do have a few projects here, but I have them hidden. So I'm going to start with a new project, empty document, and over here, as you might expect, you can see the layer panel over here. This is where your images and your effects and your text piles up. And what I'm going to do is open one of the stock photos that I have. You can't see it, but I'm just browsing through my Windows Explorer right now. And I'm going to go ahead and select something that is relatively simple that I can use to explain things. Just give me one moment. All right. So let's go ahead with this one. So I'm going to adjust the canvas to fit the size of the image. So let's say if I wanted to very quickly crop this hand out of the background, you have to understand that there is no eraser tool. There are no brushes. Well, there are, but it just doesn't work the same as Photoshop. What there are masks. So can you imagine editing a photo in Vegas Pro where you draw a mask in the event pan crop? This is how it operates as well. So, excuse me, I picked the area mask. I'm going to go ahead and pick the vector mask and just, quickly draw around this. And I'm going to intentionally just skip that little, what do you call it, a latch or ribbon? I forgot. And I'm just going to make a very, very clumsy type of roto here. And I'm just going to go ahead and seal it. Now, as you can see, it's been cropped, and of course I have the option of continuously adding in or removing things, and I can of course add another mask to include what was messed up. So if I go ahead and add this one here and I just draw around this, let's say, and of course this is pretty sloppy work, but I don't want to go too much into this, so I can just get through with this lecture pretty quickly. As you can see, now they add up to each other, and this is pretty much how it works. No information lost, no pixels lost. It's no matter what you do in the software, no information is lost. And the same can be done with the effects. So I'm going to go ahead and hide these masks for now. In fact, I'm going to delete them. I'm going to grab the vector mask and delete them. And if I go ahead and let's say I want to make this image sharper, well, it's pretty simple. I can either go to the effects menu here or just hit Control I. Hold on a sec, sorry about that. Control I. And you know what? I'm going to give it a clarity effect. So as you can see, clarity, this is a very popular effect in Lightroom. And I can go ahead and just raise this a little bit, and as you can see, the images over here, the skin tone is getting really, really sharp. And now, this is where it gets cool. If I go ahead and apply, I can go ahead and apply a mask here. And just 1 second, add an effect mask. And let's say I want the clarity to just be focused on the little cloth here. Oh, well, not the cloth, but rather the sleeve. God, my English is absolutely distorted. As you can see, this effect now only applies to the mask. And here's the other cool thing about Vegas Image is the fact that there is no limit to how much of an effect you can add. Like, okay, so we've reached, like, this is the hold on a second. So this is the maximum that it will go, right? The clarity effect. Let me get the mask out of the way. This is the maximum it will go, right? Well, I can go ahead and duplicate the clarity, duplicate it again and again, and I can do this 100 times, but I'm afraid that my GPU might break down. But just to illustrate a point, you have no limitation whatsoever when it comes to putting or stacking effects in the software. So this is an advantage, a ridiculous advantage for people who know how to make use of these things. Another pretty cool thing about Vegas Image is that it has some of the best facilities that you will ever see when it comes to shooting green screen photos. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this for now. I'm going to go ahead and click this out, and I'm going to select an image that I'm going to bring from my directory. If you will give me a moment, it should be somewhere around here. All right, let's see. All right, so this is a pretty it's a decent green screen photo, right? By the way, I didn't take this. This is just taken from the internet. And you might be saying, oh, well, he's going to throw a mask again. Well, no, not really. I can just go ahead and go over to the Effect tab and go for the chroma key. And as soon as I click this button, the green screen is gone. And if I zoom in fact, what I'm going to do is just to show you how detailed this monster is, and this is on the default settings without mentioning or without playing with anything. I'm going to put a white layer behind it, and you can see that a lot of the hair is still intact. Meanwhile, if you go over to Photoshop and try to do this now, you can do this with great accomplishment, of course, because you have the flexibility of brushes and the magic wand, the quick selection tab, and yada yada yada. Lots of For those who are very clever with those Photoshop tricks about keying and whatnot, it does have that flexibility, but it's not quite as instantaneous as this. And that's just Vegas Image's ability to leverage the raw processing power of your graphic card. And of course, you know, if I go ahead and go for the refine key, I could even, you know, work on the details further. Over here, it shows me like this little blank place. It shows me all the greens that have been keyed out. And, you know, if I raise the sensitivity, it'll key out more. But, you know, if I go too much, you can see the hair strands are losing details. And, you know, so if you haven't been sold yet, there is just one more thing that you have to bear in mind. Vegas Image and, well, it's, let's call it, it's inspirational software, Emerge Pro, because Vegas Image is essentially a reincarnation of Emerge Pro, which is basically the same thing. Is the only image compositor that I'm aware of, in fact that anyone's aware of, that operates on a software, on an image in 16-bit color. And it has a very, very powerful processing engine when it comes to images. So I'm gonna go away from Vegas Image right now and head over to a software that's very much like Photoshop. It's called Affinity Photo. It's pretty popular. It is a very, very worthy competitor to Photoshop. I'd say, you know, it has pretty, like, if I hadn't been in the need of writing right to left languages, I would have definitely stuck with Affinity Photo for the rest of my for my graphic designing needs. So if I go ahead and open an Affinity Photo, I'm gonna show you guys the software very quickly. Just let me get to the image that I want to load. And this is an image that's basically it was taken during an event, and you're gonna see one particular flaw with this image that basically almost renders it, well, I wouldn't say unusable, but let's just say the quality is discouraging. Loading Affinity Photo here. And now I'm going to take down Vegas Image to show you Affinity Photo. One moment. All right. Affinity Photo. Whoops. Excuse me. There. All right. So, as you can see, the photo is pretty blown out. It was during a very rainy day, and, you know, I mean, you could work with this sort of, you could sort of lower the highlights, and, you know, it doesn't really recover a lot of details, but it kind of like softens the blowout a little bit. And sure, you can come up with a few tricks, and you can do some sky replacement or whatnot, and that's all cool. Now, let me go back to Vegas Image and load this same raw image in Vegas Image. All right, coming back to Vegas Image. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and start a new project. I'm going to empty, and I'm going to navigate to this one. Now watch this, boys. Notice the difference. I'm going to zoom in here. I can see clouds, like little puffs of clouds. It was a rainy day. There are actual details of the sky that have been recovered thanks to the engine over here. In fact, there are 3 types of engine that have gone through upgrades. This was the first one, which wasn't particularly helpful. It could still pick up a few cloud details, but it's not as great as the second one. In fact, the second one had a few color problems with the blue, but this one, the third engine, which is the latest, recovers the highlights and the blown out details with remarkable precision. Of course, you know, better to shoot a well-balanced image than oh, hold on a sec, you guys didn't see. Sorry, 1 second. I gotta edit this. I'm sorry. All right, sorry about that. So, once again, I apologize. In this image right here, in Vegas image, you can see the skies have been recovered. You can see the clouds been recovered, the colors been recovered. Basically, Vegas image has a better chance of recovering your highlights than Photoshop or even Affinity Photo has. And that what makes it a very remarkable software. And sure, I can, you know, grab a brush right here, and I mean, whoa, all right, and sorry, what was I about to say? Oh, and mind you, this was taken with the Panasonic GH4, so even the camera that I used was not the most stellar, was not the camera of the most stellar records when it comes to photography. And yet here we are with recovered highlights, and you know, it just tells you, it speaks a lot about the potential capabilities of recovering photos in this software. Now, this is pretty much it, really. Other than having a lot of like an arsenal of really cool effects, like and color grading options and color switching options and colorizing options. Vegas image is not really a Photoshop replacement. It can never be a Photoshop replacement. And this is something that you should look at as your image editor, as a software that you would look at if you are someone who either likes to perform a lot of speed art videos, or someone who does a lot of compositing, or you are yourself a photographer. This is not Photoshop, and you know, the maximum that you can do with the Vegas image project with Vegas Effects is just take the project file and just load it into Vegas Effects. It will not split into different layers that you can animate independently. So that's it. That is it for the live stream. I said that I wouldn't take too long, and yet I believe I crossed the 30-minute mark for the presentation. Thank you for tuning in, everyone, and hopefully the next live stream will actually be about Vegas Effects. A lot of people have been requesting tutorials about Vegas Effects basics, but you know, I just want to wait for Gary until he's done with his live stream about the Vegas Effects basics, just so I do not, let's just say I don't want to, it's basically a professional courtesy. Let's just put it that way. All right, guys. And by the way, if you have any questions whatsoever, if you guys want me to do anything on the live stream, I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and, you know, close the stream. Just going to wait for 5 minutes. Okay. No questions so far. Let me check the Facebook Live. Nothing on YouTube, nothing on Facebook. Okay. Well, that wraps it up. Thank you very much. And I'll see you guys next time.